got something special planned. We'll see what happens. All right. So tonight, of course, the debate is it okay to lie to parents?
Wait just a minute, before you. I made up some nameplates to help you people follow the direction of what you're taking. I'll be known as Santa's Helper.
Santa's Helper over on
Daub, AKA Scrooge.
All right.
I should shake your hand before the debate, because when I'm done with you, you may not want to shake my hand.
Yeah, there's been those times.
Be warned.
Well, so Scrooge, I was just reminded to let everyone know. If anyone would like a picture of Santa, remember this during the voting later. It's over here. Okay. The benefits go to Goodwill. Was that it, Micah?
Yes.
Yes, I got a thumbs up on that. So benefits go to Goodwill. You want to debate that out?
No, I think that's perfect.
All right, there you go. All right, so you're good. See, there's a good side. All right, so is it okay for parents to lie to their children that Santa Claus doesn't exist? I'm sorry, Santa, I'm reading a script. I know you exist. So, I still kind of hoping for that drone. So, on this side, of course, we have Lee Terry, who has yet to win a debate. Just so you know, tonight it was random that he got this side, that perhaps tonight might be the night. But I don't want anybody that this is impartial. We want you to put all of that aside. I want you to focus on the topic, which is it okay for parents to lie that Santa allegedly does not exist? So, of course, on this side.
Doesn't.
Okay.
Double negative.
All right. I kind of wanted to get, I have a list, so really hope you get that.
I'm checking it twice.
I know you are, but you're not the one I'm worried about. It's right over there. So, all right, so is it okay for parents to lie to their children that Santa doesn't exist? Lee says that it's not okay to lie. So that'll be the vote. A vote for Lee is a vote for it's not okay to lie to your children. And then Hal, of course, feels that it's okay to lie to children about Santa. Wait, did I get that right? Was it the other way around?
Exactly.
So it's okay to lie to children that Santa doesn't exist?
Wrong to lie to your children because Santa doesn't exist.
Okay, all right.
Listen, I'll come back later.
We need a new moderator.
All right. I'm doing everything I can to really.
Out here is 4 o'clock.
I want this. All right. How about if we start with?
We have an extra rubber chicken.
There's more jokes with that too. So Al, you get the first opening. Let's say 3. All right. 4 or 5. We're going to go with 5.
He needs 5.
All right. So starting with 5, starting now.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure to have an opportunity to not only welcome you all to our wonderful Scottish Rite environment, but to again have the opportunity to greet and be as cordial as I can be to my friend Lee Terry, who again has picked the wrong side of the issue. And he was being devious about it. Of course, only Scrooge and the Grinch would know how devious he has been. There wasn't a drawing, there was no flip of the coin. He sucked me into this deal and said, that's the side of the argument you're going to take. And so actually, probably just, he needs all the help he can get. So, I want to take a vote right now before we take the final vote tonight. How many of you believe, and I want a show of hands, how many of you believe there's an Easter bunny? Put your hands down. Jeez, already. How many of you believe there's a tooth fairy? Next one. How many of you have been a tooth fairy? Okay. Now, you might think that the next question I'm going to ask you to vote on is whether or not you believe, before you hear some persuasive logic to the contrary, that there is a Santa Claus. Now, I didn't say put your hands up. Kind of have a feeling for what the drift of the room is right now. But what I am going to try to do for a few minutes is to convince you, to prevail upon your sense of objectivity, your sense of judgment about weighing facts, and not be persuaded by emotion or the color of things. This is about truth. It is about logic and fact. And if you stop to think about it, maybe we've all been duped. Maybe over all these years we've been sucked into this myth that there's a Santa Claus, and somehow we connect this myth to Christmas. Now, you know, St. Nicholas was a wonderful story, and actually it's true. So why do we have to morph it into a fat man with a white beard who somehow flies through the sky with reindeer and comes down your chimney and leaves presents after you've gotten through the process of bribing your children into thinking they need to be good or they won't get any presents at Christmas? Now stop and think about that for a minute. What kind of fuzzy logic is that? Now come on, now you're adults. Everybody's an adult in this room. You need to man up, as I say. You need to take a deep breath here and face the objective fact of this myth, this hoax that we are perpetrating on the young people, at least of America, if not the whole world. I know we've had good intentions while we've been about doing this, but think about the consequences, the unintended consequences of all of a sudden at 8 or 9 years old having to explain to your child that you were lying to them all this time, bribing them into being good, to get the emoluments of your creative thinking, hoping that they somehow end up turning out to be good kids, only to have that thought shattered that they can no longer trust their parents. Because their parents have been prevaricating, if not bending the truth about this myth called Santa Claus. So, scare tactics, you know, you might think gets you by for a while, but in the end that chicken comes home to roost, to use them. So you're going to have to think about this a little bit. Now, so I started out asking you about the Easter Bunny, and I started out asking you to think about the Tooth Fairy. Now I'm asking you to think about Santa Claus. I think Santa Claus is a great story. But it's become intertwined with this idea that it's biblical. It's not. It has no relationship to anything more than the commercialism of America. And it's even worse today as we think about PSPD and all the things that can happen to older people when the terrain changes. Think about what's happening to our kids with the internet and handheld devices and pictures of reindeer and Santa Claus and presents and sugar plums dancing in their hand. All of a sudden that myth explodes. And they're traumatized. Traumatized by this fitting. I don't want to say it's lying, but it's not telling the truth. And so I implore you, I beseech you, I ask you to reject the scare tactics of Christmas if they're connected to this myth that we have described tonight in the forum of our discussion as the Santa Claus, because everybody in this room may vote the other way, but you all know deep down in your hearts there is no Santa Claus.
Has brought up the Bible because Christmas is very, very closely related to the Bible, and so is Santa. As a matter of fact, he refers to the fact that you are bribing your children by saying, be good and we'll give you gifts. Romans 2:10 says that God will honor you and give you peace if you are good. So I don't consider this. Santa is alive and well because he is a message. He is a statement of joy and happiness, of ethics and morality. And people who have been told that Santa Claus does exist, and it's obvious he does, people who have been told that Santa Claus exists, if they hate their parents for doing that, I think you'd better analyze the child and the parents and find out what other reason for their conclusion might be. But it's obvious it isn't Santa Claus. It isn't lying about Santa Claus. It isn't telling your children that to be good, and if you're good, that you're going to be rewarded, because that's what the message of Santa Claus is, and that's why Santa Claus is alive and well and has been for thousands of years. One of the biggest so-called myths, if we want to call it that, happens to have come from the New York Times in 1891, when a young 8-year-old lady by the name of Virginia O'Hanlon asked an editorial writer in the New York Times, and his name was Francis Church, if Santa Claus really existed. And his editorial, his answer, is the most repeated editorial in American journalistic history. And Virginia herself said that his so-called myth and lie, as my opponent would reward him with saying that his myth directed her life forever in a positive way. So positive that she made well sure that her own children were given that lie, and that her own grandchildren were given that lie. I would like to read a little of that lie, because there's a lot of logic here which my opponent probably won't understand, but it's Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist. You know that they are abound, and be the world there as a Santa Claus. Not believing in Santa Claus, you might as well not believe in fairies, tooth fairies. See, we're taking all of
Ain't
them.
my case.
You might get your papa to hire men to watch in all the chimneys of Christmas Eve to catch Santa Claus. But even if they did not see Santa Claus coming down, what would that prove? Nobody sees Santa Claus, but that is no sign that there is no Santa Claus. The most beautiful things in the world are those that neither children nor men can see. Did you ever see fairies dancing on the lawn? Of course not. But there's no proof that they're not there. Nobody can conceive or imagine all the wonders that there are unseen and unseeable in the world. No Santa Claus? Thank God he lives and has lived forever. 1,000 years from now, Virginia, nay, 10 times 1,000 from now on, he will continue to be in the glad heart of childhood. As I told you, the message that Santa brings to us is being good, and you will reap the benefits of being good. Eugene Field wrote this poem: "For Christmas with its lots and lots of candies, cakes, and toys was made to save for proper kids and not for naughty boys. So wash your face and brush your hair and mind your P's and Q's, and don't bust out your pantaloons and don't wear out your shoes. Say yes to the ladies and yes sir to the men, and when there's company, don't pass your plate for pie again. But thinking of the things you'd like to see upon a tree just before Christmas, be as good as you can be. That is the message of Christmas. Be good. And that is the message that so many of the children have accepted. I'd like to read a few letters to Santa Claus. I am 12 years old, but I'm writing this because I believe there is a Christmas magic somewhere. Dear Santa, to be good, Santa, but boys will be boys, and you know that you're that. You know that boys will be boys because you're one yourself. Dear Santa, I've been somewhat bad, so I understand that you don't give me anything. I love what you gave me last year. I shall believe in you because you make miracles come true. And that's the real message of Christmas. What I want for Christmas is Daddy to come home, or a phone so I can call him. Dear Santa, I don't need anything, but my brother needs a pair of shoes real bad. Size 4, please. Dear Santa, could you come early this year? I've been super good, but I don't think I can hold out. Dear Santa, I am 12, and when I stop believing in Santa, a little bit of my happiness will disappear as well. And then finally, dear Santa, Mama says you won't be coming this year because Obama got elected again. As you know, Donald Trump is now the president-elect, and Santa is going to be great again.
As the entirely impartial moderator and timer, I think that was absolutely brilliantly, but I'm impartial. Hal, if you'd like to, I think you have 3 minutes. We'll go with 3 minutes. He was right. Let's ask Santa.
Oh, yeah, right.
He was right at time, wasn't he? Santa says 2 minutes.
The rule is if you have something to say, you can go over.
Okay.
You're finished.
You know, you tend to have some of the appearance of being able to pretend to be a Santa Claus yourself, lady. The stature, the age. He talks about Romans 2:10. And see, I don't think I mentioned the Bible or tried to connect it to whether you believe in God or not, or Jesus or not, or all the sort of implication that dripped off of his opening statement. But what he's trying to create for you in your own mind is an affirmation, a confirmation that you will think this illusion of Santa Claus is real. But we all know, come on, face it, now admit it. If you don't admit it when you vote, admit it to yourself. It's an illusion, because you know what an illusion requires? It requires imagination. And if that's the case, I can't believe in the evidence my good friend used. I mean, do you really believe the New York Times? I mean, honestly, you know, Lee, I think there's a lot of other logic to support your case besides the New York Times. Anyway, Lee, you talk about imagination and heart. It involves pretending. When you use your imagination, there's nothing wrong with it, mind you. Nothing wrong with pretending. And remember I said that Christmas is a special time in our lives and celebrates the birth of Jesus, and all of that part of our lives is not imagination, we believe. But when you connect it beyond St. Nicholas and the history of 2,000 years, which I agree,
with my opponent, is important to remember, and to the commercialization of Christmas because it's connected to Santa Claus, it ought to be the other way around. So I'll accept the celebration of Santa Claus as a part of the holiday season, but if you're honest, you have to know that when you pretend, and that's what you're doing when you convince your kids that there's a Santa Claus that has some different meaning, that subverts the true meaning of Christmas. So you should distinguish in your mind when you're weighing your vote tonight. You should distinguish in the objectivity and the factual meaning of Christmas and separate it from the celebration that attaches to the white beard and the big fat guy that comes down the chimney, riding through the air on Rudolph and the reindeer with a sleigh full of... You all know that there can't be enough toys packed by the elves in the North Pole in that sleigh to give to every kid down every chimney in the world, all within the space of a couple of hours. Now, you all know it's a myth. If you are honest with yourself and you think about how to distinguish the story of Christmas from the fun we have and the meaning that by illusion is perfectly acceptable, as long as you are intentionally capable of knowing that you're probably not doing your children all that much good by convincing them that if they don't believe in Santa Claus, they're never going to be good enough to get a gift under their Christmas tree on the 25th of December. Thank you.
You didn't deserve that.
It was a pity applause. It was a pity applause.
Obviously, you pay little attention to me anyway, but you missed that point. You might get your papa to hire men to watch all the chimneys on Christmas Eve to catch Santa Claus. But even if they didn't, doesn't mean that Santa Claus doesn't exist. Obviously, you didn't.
You ought to rest your case now while you're ahead, you know.
Santa
I
Claus.
mean, they all know.
Santa Claus is real. One thing about it, Santa Claus dresses better than somebody.
This was just for you, Lee. This was just for you. I was going to dress as the Grinch, but...
Santa Claus has been seen by some very important people. Santa Claus has been seen by the United States Post Office. You remember in the great 1947 documentary, Miracle on 34th Street. Now don't laugh about that
Before he jumped off the bridge.
Because the fact is that that film is in the Library of Congress because it is culturally and historically and aesthetically significant to American life. Now, you don't put things into the Library of Congress saying that they're historically correct unless they are. Obviously, the post office has a rule that mail cannot be delivered to a person that doesn't deserve it.
We've all learned about fake news.
And all of you finally said something worth As you know, mail is delivered to Santa. I just read you several letters. The post office knows and understands that there is a real Santa Claus. Also, there are some other offices and agencies in the United States that have seen him. NASA and the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency helped to map out the route that Santa Claus took. Now, surely you wouldn't say that you don't believe in a government agency, because you know they're telling the truth. Specifically, When I was a newscaster, one Christmas Eve, I had the general give a live report from Looking Glass, the plane that was always in the air to protect us against the Soviet Russia. And he said that he was in sight of Santa Claus and his reindeer passing their plane. Now, you know that the SAC people would not lie about such matters. I can understand the laughter when Daub was up here, but I don't understand. He talks about all this mental health problem that would happen to children if you lie to them. Well, let me tell you, as Masons, that surely I don't think we need a vote, because as Masons, you would want to believe in Santa because you want to make sure that the children have the joy and the thrill, and also the ethical lesson of knowing that Santa Claus exists. And I would like to, at this time, call upon Santa to come forward. Are you Santa Claus?
Absolutely. And Lee, you've been a very good boy this year.
Are you the real Santa Claus?
Of course I am.
Are you a Scottish Rite Mason?
Yes, I am.
Would you possibly call a Scottish Rite Mason a liar? Obviously, after that feeling touch, he's convinced.
Hal thinks it's just by chance or a family tradition he gets coal in his stocking every year.
I work hard at it.
I rest my case. Thank you very much.
May I ask a question of the group?
It looks like we're ready for questions. So, if anyone would like.
How many here, when you were young, or when your own kids were young, when they started to doubt, continued to profess belief for years to get more presents?
Still do.
That's your future politicians.
That's not, neither one of us should like that. I mean, that's, you know.
We have a question here from someone who knew Santa for several thousand years ago.
When he was a little boy. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Hal on working the emoluments clause into a debate about Santa. Minor legal move, I've never seen, but I'm getting worried and confused and concerned with all this talk. I mean, it's got me worried that there's another fat, hairy man who talks about strange and imaginary things. Is there really a Trump?
I was going to ask my friend, Lee Terry, I was going to ask him if he knew where the Grinch lived.
Well, yes, I do. He's in your neighborhood.
We know there's a North Pole, and we know that Santa lives up at the North Pole, but if you don't know where the Grinch lives,
Just outside of the building.
I really appreciate the debate and everything. The one question I have is, if there wasn't a Santa and Hal wasn't so bad, why the hell does he have such an ugly sweater?
That's a great question, Hal.
the batteries have run down on it just a little bit.
Now, and I do have to remind everyone now, Hal is saying that we should not lie to children.
But I also said that Santa Claus can be celebrated as a act, as a fun myth, and it can be related to Christmas time on the history of St. Nicholas, St. Barnabas, and that history of 2,000 or 3,000 years that my good friend talked about. But you must not connect them to the idea that because you've been bad, you can't get treated right by Santa Claus at Christmas. That's the problem with the logic.
Now, this despicable concept,
If
Lee, do you have a
Santa
comment?
Claus, if Santa Claus lives in the heart of every Mason, he lives forever, because the Mason really wants to.
What about non-Masons?
The joy and happiness.
We don't care about that. Our dues aren't that expensive.
No, that's pretty good.
As long as he lives in your heart, he'll live forever.
That's pretty good.
All right, we have a question in the back. All right.
Yes, Hal. My children are downstairs.
Oh, jeez.
If I had them brought upstairs to see Santa, would you tell them that Santa wasn't real?
No, I wouldn't. As I said, I'm all in favor of Santa Claus, the story. It's how it's been warped, massaged, and sort of transferred into this way in which we ask our children to respond to the story. And I think that's important ethically, if we all think about it, that we're in a different world today than we were when that guy was about ready to jump off the bridge. It's a wonderful world. Remember the story? He was about ready to jump off the bridge, remember?
I'm glad you explained that.
But he was. And so the idea is not that I dispute the very good thoughts you have, because I want children to understand the joy of Santa Claus. It's just that I think we could logically think about a better way of how we create that culture of what our kids, how they view the story. I don't know, Cinderella? I mean, there's a lot of ways if you want to prick your conscience and think about it logically. We're not teaching our kids that there's some believability in Cinderella as a story. So that's my point. I have great respect for my colleague and the setup of this debate tonight and how he's struggling to win a vote, but I think it's just important that you all search deeply in your souls for what you know the truth to be.
So really what Hal is saying that Masonry, he's for the national treasure version of Masonry versus Lee, which is all pancake feeds and everything else.
You want to get away with that?
I'm an impartial moderator now.
He was trying to get...
So that when you get home, read Romans 2:10.
I will.
I'd like to ask a question, Hal.
Quit picking on me, will you?
At 5 years old, did you believe in Santa Claus?
No.
So.
You missed it though. At 4, I did.
All right.
I want to tell you what my father did. This is, I bet you some of you have done this. My father had an old set of sleigh bells that a horse collar used to wear, you know, those big leather things. And he would put newspaper down in the front room to the fireplace, get soot on his boots from the fireplace, make the footprints, you know, from the fireplace to the Christmas tree. We'd set out the dish with the carrots and the cookies and the glass of milk, and then all of a sudden, my brother in his bedroom and I up on the second floor of our old farmhouse at 60th and Ames, we'd hear these jingle, 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 and we were supposed to believe, right, that Santa Claus has landed and he's outside and he's going to come down the chimney, because when we woke up and we got down there, the milk was gone, the carrot was eaten in half, the cookies were gone, and there were presents under the tree. Did you all do that?
Yeah.
Wasn't that fun? Yeah. But disconnect that from the idea that we should convince the kid that what we told them was the truth. It was a story.
You know, I just have to say real quick, this is really emotional for me. I go over to my parents' house every year. I'm 50, Hal. I'm 50.
You are?
Yes, I am.
God.
And there's soot on my parents' floor every year. And I'm not giving up those Christmas Day gifts.
Okay.
All right, so I believe it's time for a vote. It's quite a boxing match. This is not only a vote, of course, for tonight. We should not lie to our parents, or not our parents. Our parents should not lie to their children. Parents should lie to their children.
Parents should lie to their.
I know that's Freudian. I'm like lying to my parents all the time. That's what it comes down to. Parents should not lie to their children. Parents should lie to their children. Whoever wrote that resolution. And so we're going to go with a show of hands in favor of Lee. All right. In favor of Hal.
I finally won a debate.
Oh, no, wait a minute. I'm counting. All right. Now, you can extra vote. All right, this looks really close. This looks really close. As Dave Meinzer here. Dave, I'm having some trouble counting all the votes. This is a real boxing match. We don't have Electoral College or Oprah Winfrey we can send this to decide this for us. Can you come up here and help us with this boxing match? Keywords, boxing match. Can you come up?
Actually, in Canada, that's what Christmas is. It's Boxing Day.
Exactly. Thank you, Hal, for that one to grow on by Nancy McKeon.
That's right. You're supposed to stand up.
And now, for the thousands in attendance, and the millions watching around the world and on HBO and pay-per-view, ladies and gentlemen from the Scottish Rite Masonic Center here in downtown Omaha, Nebraska, Judge Jeffrey Perfection scores the bout 38-38. Judge Freddie The Rose Croy scores the bout 39-37. Judge Gary Consistieri scores the bout 37-38. Up to 39.
It's rigged.
How's the tie so far?
And Judge Johnny Kadosh scores the bout 38-38 in a super split majority draw decision. Brothers, we have a tie.
I will concede. I will concede.
Seriously, as a symbolic gesture for your efforts and in lieu of presenting the coveted World Debaters Championship belt as a consolation prize, the KSA of the Omaha Valley would like to present you these McCrae Red Modern Tartan ties
That's great.
to both Lee Terry Sr. and Hal Daub for their outstanding articulation endeavors this evening.
Get him a petition.
We've witnessed this over and over, and you both do a remarkable job and a wonderful job at preparing, organizing, concocting, fabricating, and presenting data and information for these debates, no matter how critically important the subject is.
Are you trying to override us or something?
I just know that the fact-checking committee is going to be going on all night long. Ladies and gentlemen, join the KSA and let's thank these gentlemen for their fine efforts. As the KSA leaves the outcome of this debate in a draw or a tie, the task of making the final decision now falls upon
the almoner. And he's going to be taking bribes all night long.
John Lee, on behalf of the entire Scottish Rite, we really appreciate everything that you've done this year in all seriousness. You brought something new and different to the Scottish Rite, and the camaraderie you two show is one of the things that brings people in, and we appreciate that very much. So, thank you again. And with my regrets, I'd like to bring Jeff Coleman up here for the next stage of the evening. Oh, come on, no last.